Are you saying you faked with me?
Yeah.
Wrong. Now you're single.
What do you know about sexual relations?
Is it true that if you don't use it, you lose it?
I'm a little worried about being a slut.
You're listening to the Come With Us podcast, talking the good, the kinky, and the ugly. Here are your hosts, Beth, Aaron, and Tina.
Hello, all you sexy holes and poles. So good to be with you today. Have you ever written anything so deliciously erotic that your partner is like wet or hard for you even before you touch them? If so, you're my kind of people. You're Aaron's kind of people too, because we want to help you do that. If you've never done it before, that's cool. If you already are into erotic writing, that's cool too. One way or the other, Aaron and I are both fans of sexy written erotica, and we've got some ideas to share with you that we hope will help you seduce and tantalize, tease, and pleasure the object of your lust, of course, for your pleasure as well. Welcome to Come With Us podcast, where we know that sexy stuff matters just as much as the lovey-dovey stuff. We're here to help you get all of the pleasure that you deserve. I'm Beth Darling, author of the new book that's helping more and more people get satisfaction from their relationships. It's called The 5 Kinds of Intimacy: How to Keep Your Love Alive. You can find it on Amazon.com if you haven't. If you've already got it, then please, if you haven't given me a review on Amazon.com, please do that. But this book will help you jumpstart your love life like a pronto. And that combined with some erotic writing, you should be good to go. Good to go. So go to BethDarling.com if you need to learn more or if you want the direct link to Amazon. But you can thank me later for making love so much easier. All right. In the meanwhile, Aaron, you ready to talk erotica?
Yeah.
I love it. I know that you told me a while ago that you write some sexy stories, and I thought that was so cool. I did not expect that from you.
Yeah, I have. I mean, I'm not like a actual, author or anything like that, but just
you're an author if you write.
One day I was bored and I had my laptop sitting next to me and I was like, I had an idea, and so I just started writing it out. And I mean, when you see, listeners are probably going to sit there and think, and the second they heard erotica, they're thinking of the most popular to this day, which is 50 Shades of Grey.
Oh, yeah.
Which you can go off on a tangent all you want. You hate it. I don't really care. Okay, you don't hate it. You don't like the writing.
Right. I didn't think it was well written, but it was hot as hell. And God knows, right? It literally turned millions and millions and millions of people on, obviously.
Yeah.
And turned them on to a topic of BDSM that is not generally accepted mainstream. So it was a BDSM mainstream success. That's freaking amazing in my mind. So yeah. And you enjoyed that, right?
I mean, I enjoyed the effects of it. I didn't. My wife and I read it, all 3 of them together. Ooh. But like, again, I enjoyed the effects way more than I didn't pay attention to, like, because I can read something and say, this is good writing, this is bad writing. But I didn't pay attention to the writing itself or the story itself because I just didn't care. Like, I was only in it for the end goal. I was only sitting at the restaurant so I could get dessert. I didn't. You
just wanted arousal.
Yeah.
Right. However they got to
crappy
arousal.
And soggy. Oh, okay, cool. I'm only here because there's a hot fudge sundae at the end. That's the best in the world.
Okay. So, but I like that. How did you guys read it together? Did you read it out loud to each other?
Yeah.
Ooh, that's really hot.
I don't even remember what friend of hers turned her on to it and was like, hey, you should read this. And she was like, okay. And I think we were out at a big box store and she saw it. She bought it. And at first I was like, what? Because she reads dumb, girly, like the book version of Hallmark movies, and they're shitty. And they have the exact same storyline, the exact same plot line, just like every Hallmark movie.
Yeah.
And if you write a Hallmark movie or you're acting in a Hallmark movie or work on one, I'm not taking any shots at you. I'm just saying I could write the exact same thing. And guess what? Women like it. They eat them up like it's freaking cookies. Cool.
Well, so
Good for them.
it was Harlequin romances. Those were the original, like, steamy stories.
But
Yeah.
even the Hallmark movies and like the stuff she reads, it's not really like steamy. It's more just lovey-dovey stuff.
Oh, okay. So it is
But,
the
like,
rom-com versus the erotica. There is a difference.
I mean, it's not even because have you ever watched a Hallmark movie? They're not rom-coms.
God, yeah, I
They're
love
just shitty.
Well, some
They're
of them,
just-
but some
they're
of them
bad
are better.
stories. They're bad actors. They're bad writing.
No,
It's
some of
horrible.
them are good.
No.
And in fact, they've gotten better. No, they really
No.
have. They have. I promise
then
you.
God knows why
I
they helped.
watched
Whatever
a zillion
executive
of them.
funded them when they were worse than what they are now deserves
Yeah.
$1 billion because he made them a dumb shit ton truck full of money. Anyways,
Yeah.
so I thought this was just going to be some goofy, like lovey-dovey romantic story or whatever. And then she like literally just opened it to a page. I think it was like 112 or something like that, and handed it to me in the middle of this box store and said, "Read 2 pages, and I'll
Ooh.
be over there shopping. And then you come back and tell me if you want me to buy this book." And
Love that.
And literally the page she opened to was like mid sex scene, mid like spanking and stuff like that. And I was like, oh, I mean, yeah, this book couldn't hurt, right?
Mhm.
So we bought the first one and she first read the first 2 or 3 chapters on her own. And then finally was like, I think we should read this together.
Mhm.
So then we read all 3 of them out loud to each other and we just traded off nights and traded off different things. And that was that. That was when it was popular. What, 7 years ago now? 8 years ago? Jesus. It's been a long time.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
But you've talked about it, and
Yeah.
we've suggested before the website, Erotica. It's a website, and there's plenty of short stories, there's long stories, there's every genre, kink, whatever fetish you have, you can probably find a story about it.
Yes.
And so I've read it before and stuff like that. I've read stories there before.
Uh-huh.
And so again, I was sitting there one day, bored. Wife was out doing something, and I was like, "Oh, let's see what I can write." And I wrote, and then she got home, and I was 8 pages in to a story, and I just kept going. She was like, "What are you doing?" And I was like, "Oh, I'm writing." And she was like, "Okay," and didn't think anything of it because I was more of a musician and stuff like that by trade, not story writing.
Uh-huh.
And so she just kind of walked away and did her own thing and then came back. And then finally, a couple weeks later, she was like, "Hey, what were you writing the other day?" And I just handed her my laptop. I said, "You read it. You tell me."
Ooh.
And since then, other inspirations have come and they've, I've written some. I've got, I think, 3 stories in the works right now that I've come to a stopping point or a pause point on that I can't figure out where I want to go or how I want to get from action A to action B. That I'll pick up one day when I'm bored and have time, but now is not the time.
Yeah. But it got her, like your stories got her aroused just like 50 Shades, right?
They did not nearly as much because it's the stories I wrote are more of my fantasies.
Okay.
Like fantasies that I don't know if saying like they're fantasies I'll never get to act out or anything like that. I don't want to put a nail in that coffin. But they're fantasies that I've had that clearly have been somewhere in my psyche for years, decades, God knows how much. And so I just wrote out a fantasy that I had, and like it turned her on knowing that it was my fantasy, but it's not the same. Like it's not her number one fantasy in the world. If she said, "Hey,
Right.
I told her to list her top 5 fantasies," it's not one of those 5.
Yeah, but so I like the idea that that you're able to use your stories as a way to bring your fantasies to life if they're not ones that she's going to be interested in acting out. And yet, like I'm thinking if she read those aloud to you, that would still be the arousal, the excitement, everything that would basically get you to that hot fudge sundae, that orgasmic bliss and sexy pleasure. That still associates with that fantasy. So I think that's a very cool idea.
Yeah,
And
I haven't
I never
had her do
thought of it.
that. I've only because I read them with an analytical mind, I guess, because
Yeah.
it's like I said, and for anybody going, "Well, I'm not creative. I never played an instrument. I can't write." Yes, you can. You just put words on paper and it works itself out. Don't think that you need to be a musician, a poet, a story writer, anything like that. Just put words on paper.
And we've got some tips that we're gonna help do that.
Yeah.
Yes.
But
we'll walk you through.
when I read it, like I've gone back and I've read them just to, And I can acknowledge that, yeah, this is hot, but at the same time, I read it in a very like analytical, like, oh, should I go back and edit? And should I change this to this? And should I, fix
Right.
things? And do I like how I did that? Like, I don't read it in a trying to turn myself on kind of thing.
Right.
I read it now as like, I am an artist. And this is going to sound really pretentious. I'm not fucking an artist, but this is like an artist who will walk into a gallery of their work and look at something and go, man, I used way too much green in that one. Maybe I shouldn't have used so much green on that landscape. No, that's how I see it now.
Right, but that's okay. So I think it's important, and I like that you find pride in it. Everybody should. Everybody
Well,
should.
if you're going to do something, do it well.
Feel pride. That's right. And it is an artistry. It's also something that those 10,000 hours that whoever came up with, I forgot the name, right? When you put 10,000 hours in, that's when you really succeed. Well, clearly, if you're not a professional author, professional writer, then it's going to take you a damn long time to get to 10,000 hours. Don't worry about it. Just enjoy from the beginning. But I do think, I get that reading it, you are looking at it from that ownership perspective instead of the pleasure perspective. And that's where I think maybe letting your partner read it could be the transition, because the sound of her voice and everything, if you focus on that, then maybe you kind of forget that this was a creation of your own imagination.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I mean,
who knows?
Because I get turned on while I write it.
Yeah.
While I'm writing it, then I am. But then if I go back and read it, then all of a sudden, like, editor-in-chief analytical mind kicks in and is like, fix this kind of stuff.
Yeah, gotta set that aside.
Maybe one of these days I'll actually put them up on a website like Erotic, or I'll publish them somewhere. But I'm not anywhere near that yet.
Doesn't matter. It's for your pleasure. And that's what I think I want everybody to know, right? All of our listeners, that nobody else has to agree or disagree with you. This can just be for your pleasure, for your partner's pleasure. Even if it just gets new conversation started. Because personally, I think talking about sex is the hottest sort of like sexy fun there is. And when we were talking about 50 Shades, so I just pulled up one little quote that I just thought I would share, because again, you can say the writing's not good, but whatever. It's just still. So this quote was, "This feels different than the last time. So carnal, so necessary. He caresses my behind with his long-fingered hands, and I'm helpless, trussed up and pressed into the mattress at his mercy, and yet of my own free will. He hits me again, slightly to the side, and again the other side, then pauses slowly as he peels my panties down and pulls them off." Again, there are no fancy words. It's not amazing, complicated sentence structure. There's
Which
not
sometimes it doesn't have to be. I mean,
that's what I'm saying, right? I think that's hot. Right?
Look at, and I don't have the fucking numbers in front of me. Every year at the end of the year, and we just started a new year, Pornhub puts out a list of their most popular genres and stuff like that. And always, 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 always in the top 5, amateur is out there. And guess why people like amateur porn? There's nothing fancy. There's no super fancy lighting. It's just a camera and 2 people going at it. And that turns people on because it's real people. It's not staged. Whereas I don't even remember who wrote the damn book. What's her name?
E.L. James.
Yeah.
50 Shades.
Is that a real name, or is that a pseudonym?
No,
like
I think it's
Anne
a pseudonym.
Rice's was.
Yeah, I think it's a pseudonym.
Anyways, like, she didn't write thing like, and keep it simple. Okay, cool. Yeah. She wanted to write something that was just bare bones. This is it. And cool, it works.
Yeah.
Now that I've seen 2 of the 3 movies, unfortunately, that writing does nothing for me anymore, because those were just the worst movies I've ever seen in my life. I've seen porn better than that, and I've seen horrible porn better than that. Those were bad. And
I didn't like those. Right.
Dakota Johnson, hot as all get out, super hot. Can't act her way out of a paper bag.
Well, I've seen her in other things, but I didn't think there was chemistry. But and let me just, if I may, register my biggest complaint, my real issue with 50 Shades of Grey was only, don't think that it really is a good primer on good, healthy BDSM, because it's not. They broke so many rules. So that was more, it was teaching people a wrong lesson, a wrong way to, quote, do BDSM, i.e. to violate boundaries, to become basically asshole instead of just a dominant. So just so people out there understand. I'm not
Yeah.
trying to trash it. I really
It
did
was, I mean,
appreciate
that was
it
a lot more of
fun.
an abusive
Yeah,
relationship
right.
than anything.
Yeah.
But yeah,
But other than that, no, it definitely worked. And I think you're right. So keeping things, if you're going to try and write something, it doesn't have to be complicated. It doesn't have to be long. You don't have to use fancy words. Hell, you don't even have to use any words that you're not comfortable with, right? You don't have to use raunchy words. But keeping things simple, I think and keeping them real for you is going to make a big difference. Because if you try to write like your E.L. James, it's not going to work. If you try and write like Shakespeare, it's not going to. If you try to write like Aaron, it's not going to work. You're going to have to find your own voice, and then you just have to write that. You just have to use words on paper to express that.
literally, I mean, and this is going to go down more of the let's get more personal about me, but literally, it was I closed my eyes. Oh, I'm sorry, we're out of time today. Anyways,
sorry, I
no,
I think that actually might be my book being delivered.
Oh, nice.
I know. Anyway,
but when I've written any of these stories, now granted, it's always like my wife and I as the main characters. There are no like, I don't know what. Somebody's going to call me weird. Somebody's going to say that's, mushy gushy romantic, or somebody's going to say, oh, you're full of shit. You fantasize about fucking other women. Whatever. I don't care. Say what you want. Every time I close my eyes, the stories I'm writing are literally my wife and I as the main characters.
Ooh,
and I just
freaking hot.
Whatever's going to turn me on in that moment, that's where it's going to go. And
that's perfect.
And another thing, something that just popped into my head, it's obvious that there are people who write actual porn movies. It's, it's a healthy profession. You can make a lot of money apparently from writing the plot and quote unquote script of porn. Cool. Have at it. I don't write them it's interesting in the day and age we live in where I've got a freaking device right here I can watch porn on. I've got a device right in front of me that we're recording on now. I can watch porn. I can watch porn on 3 different devices, 4 within 2 feet of me, and I can have 4 different porn movies going at the same time. But nothing I write would ever translate from writing to lights, camera, action stuff. And I think that's why I enjoy doing it so much. Is because I'm not trying to write it as a screenplay or anything like that. It's honestly what the benefit of a real good book is. You can get lost in your own head and you're picturing it, you're living it, you're feeling all those emotions and those senses on your own.
Right. Yeah. So, and you're not just shooting for a money shot. Right. Yeah. There's just so much more to it. So,
honestly, I get it. There was billions and billions of dollars to be made from making 50 Shades of Grey into a movie, but that was probably the one thing that ruined that entire thing for so many people is you have to get it dead on. And guess what?
Yeah.
150 million women read those books. There's 150 different men that they pictured in their head than Jamie Dornan or whoever it is.
Mm-hmm. So, okay. So I think that might be I think that's a good point for us to start giving people some ideas, some hints for practical tips that they can use to immediately finish this episode and just get out a piece of paper or get out your computer and just to start writing. And so I think what you just said is true, that to recognize that you are writing for someone's imagination. Porn is trying just to show you the money shot. And they're hoping that's enough. Erotica, you have to fuel their imagination. You have to get them engrossed and involved in what's going on so that their mind gets turned on as well as their body. And that's how then you can also drag it out and tease and tantalize and leave people, hanging.
Yeah.
So that, frankly, so maybe there's no orgasmic release during the erotica or for the reader, but then you leave them. So God, touch me now and help me finish this off. Cause I'm about to blow.
Yeah.
Or I want to blow you.
Yeah.
So,
I mean,
okay.
Think about it. This is the way I think about it is say you do have porn on in front of you. The woman takes off her bra and boom, tits right there. Cool. If you're reading that, do you know how much you just wrote? Half a sentence.
Oh yeah.
You can take 2 paragraphs minimum to just taking off a bra and seeing a woman's breasts. That's it. In 2 paragraphs minimum. I could stretch that out to 4 pages if I wanted to.
Right, because what you're doing there is you're actually sharing how you feel about it, how the impact, the way, not just the technical description and anatomical description of the breast, but their feel, their softness, the temptation that you feel, the energy,
slow
that
art of the
changes.
pulling it off, of like pulling a bra off, the tease of it, all that.
Oh,
stuff.
just that sentence I love, the slow arc of pulling her bra off her shoulder. Right, that's a beautiful sentence, and suddenly I'm feeling that, which is kind of cool. So I like that. And Aaron's like blushing. If you're watching this on YouTube, this is it's a good thing we're just sitting. So okay, and then when it comes to words and descriptors, I know I've listened to people reading erotica and stuff, and I'll tell you, sometimes they're trying to use like 10 different words for penis. They're, cock, dick, this, rod, and sometimes you don't necessarily have to keep saying that particular word. You certainly can if you want to, and you can use any word that you want for it. But sometimes you can just sort of, touch his hardness. Just look at that, right? I could see the pulsing vein. We don't have to keep repeating the same words over and over again. And I think that becomes helpful.
You don't have to repeat the same word, but you also don't need to use a different word every time you're talking about his dick or her pussy. Or he's like, you don't need to use a different euphemism every fucking time, because that's when you start going, okay, dude, you got out of thesaurus. Good job. You don't need that.
And it becomes just redundant. Like, it's just over and over versus describing, and saying, oh, I just, caught a glimpse of the pink teasing out from behind, beneath her panties, or while her panties were pulled aside, and you're there and stuff. So again, feel free to find words that work for you, and then feel free to use descriptors and everything, not just the same weird words. So, let's see. Oh, okay. Cliches, right? Like being done like a jackhammer and stuff. I mean, sometimes some cliches are good, but again, try to use them sparingly, because you don't want to just be kind of repeating somebody else's words all the time.
Yeah, I mean,
that'll be free.
Cliches are there for a reason, because they work.
Yeah.
But at the same time, do you pay to go to an NBA or any basketball game and want to watch them just shoot free throws all day? No, that's boring as hell. Free throws work. It is literally what it is called, a free throw. But guess what? If you were to go there, you paid $200 a ticket to go see Steph Curry play basketball. I guarantee you do not want to sit there and watch him get fouled every time he has the ball and just go to the line and go, okay.
Yeah.
Like that. They work, yes. Just like the cliche of free throws work. But there's more to it than that.
That's right. So feel free to use your own imagination. Exactly. And use your own analogies. God knows I love analogies and stuff. Yeah. And then this, I think, is important, is that think about the 5 senses, right? So don't just focus on what eyes might see, like porn or something. Think about also the scent. Think about what things would taste like. Think what feel, scent, touch. What am I missing? Hear. What would be going. And sometimes if there's silence, describe the silence, right? If somebody doesn't know, or just the breathing, the heart pounding. You can describe what it feels like. Sometimes for me, like when I get close to orgasm, it's like in my head, I can hear my blood pulsating. It's just crazy loud in my own ears. It's the weirdest thing. So whatever.
I would think I was having a stroke.
Well, I know sometimes I'm worried about that.
Holy crap. That would scare the shit out of me.
I know. I know. But that's the thing. When you're so far, you're so close to it, it doesn't matter. You can't stop anyway. So it's like, oh my God. And then it's like, thank goodness. But yeah, right. So those little things, and whatever your particular quirks, if you will, or your partner's particular quirks, incorporating those. If somebody's toes curl, maybe that's a cliche, but maybe it's her perfectly pedicured pink toenails couldn't help but curve with every lick that I gave her, right? Then it's like, oh shit, that's really personal. And now that becomes more real.
Yeah.
So little details really will help flesh it out.
Yeah.
So, and don't worry about, like, erotica can also have humor in it, which I think people don't recognize, but God, laughing is such an aphrodisiac for so many people. It doesn't always have to be orgasmic. Sometimes erotica, like I said, can just leave you on the edge, just waiting and wishing your own orgasm could help the people that you're that you're reading about. So those were some of the things those are some of the hints that I was thinking were really helpful. Do you have any other suggestions?
I mean, just like going back to the amateur porn example, like you're writing a real story about real people. You're not writing, and
well, or they could write about fantasy, but it's still yours,
but like,
right? So
what I'm saying is
don't
try to make. You don't feel like you have to make the entire scene perfect from start to finish and nothing goes wrong. Realize if you're trying to write something, especially if you're just writing it for you and your partner or just you, like, understand that the realization or the human side of sexy fun is kind of also there. Like, you've gotten a Charlie horse while fucking. I've gotten a Charlie horse while fucking. My wife's gotten one. Everybody has at some point gone, holy shit, stop. Ow! My leg is not going to bend for another 20 minutes if you don't stop. Like, you can do that. Oh crap, her toes are curling as she's orgasming and she got caught up in the sheets and now she pulled the sheets off the bed. Okay, cool. Something like that. Like, don't feel like you have to make it a just the typical 90s like Titanic love scene kind of bullshit. Make it, give your characters some humanity. Give them, everybody has some faults. Depth. Everybody, don't think that, I don't know. Just don't think that you have to perfect A, your characters, and B, your story. Yeah. Your human side your own personal experiences you can dwell on and use. Just like you said, there can be laughs in it as well. You can make that kind of, you're not trying to write a comedy story, but you can also allow for that to be there.
Yeah. So, and I think that if you are thinking, oh, sure, this sounds like fun, but you're like, oh, I don't want to the idea of having to, write a whole story is too much. I would suggest that a great start for somebody who just has this urge to put some, is think of your favorite part of your partner, your favorite body part, or a particularly exciting, sexy experience you've had. Just write one paragraph or 3 sentences about it. Doesn't have to be long. My guess is as soon as you start, it'll start flowing. So it's really just that first. So don't set yourself up for, oh God, I have to write a whole story. Just figure out, like, describe nipples, describe taking off a bra if nipples are too much, right? But like Aaron said, that one sentence just is so great. And you just want to hear more. And how do you see what happens to your body as you see a nipple, a breast exposed for the first time in 24 hours or the first time ever that you've ever seen this particular breast, right? Just pick one tiny little instance or tiny little part and write 3 sentences about it. And just do that periodically. And then show them to your partner. I'm telling you, just hearing somebody write about that, like if somebody wrote about my breasts, it would be like, that would totally turn me on. In fact, I had a guy who wrote a whole book about our relationship and about me.
Holy crap.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
How long
it
was the book?
Hot. Huh?
How long was the book?
A little novel size?
Like
I don't know.
200 pages? 100 pages?
Oh, 100 and something pages probably.
Holy crap.
Yeah.
See, again, like that's a mountain to me. I know I said I wrote 8 pages on my first story and someone went, holy shit. Yeah. It just depends. And again, you start with 3 sentences, a paragraph maybe, and all of a sudden, once the creative starts, you don't know where it's going to like come to a halt. So just let it keep going.
Yeah.
It'll
Just
be there.
play. Exactly.
Being
Yeah.
creative is something that we all lose as we get older. I mean, think about all
Oh,
the
it's terrible.
imaginary friends and the games you made up as a child and stuff like that. As you get older, you lose that, and part of that fizzles out. Any type of creative activity, music, writing, art, any of that stuff energizes and actually utilizes part of your brain that's good for you, that
Yep.
actually helps you as you age too. So if you're not gonna, oh, I'll never write a hit song, or no, I couldn't play an instrument to save my life, or I couldn't carry a tune in a bucket. Cool. Guess what? You're listening to this, so you like some type of sexy fun. Write it out.
Yeah.
That's a creative expression that keeps your brain working, and keeps your brain working in new ways that isn't crunching numbers at the office every day, or going out and measuring a pipeline or a gas meter or something like that. Just do something that's going to get out of the norm but keep your brain working.
Mm-hmm. And if you're with a partner who perhaps doesn't have the same sort of libido, isn't getting turned on by the things that used to just turn them on, i.e., just getting in bed or seeing you naked or something, erotica can be a great way to help inspire that libido. Because once you start allowing those creative juices to flow, then you can ask your partner, okay, tell me one of your stories. Tell me one of your fantasies, or just tell me 3 things, do a Mad Lib. Tell me 3 things that, relate to sex or something, 3 sexy words. And I'll write a little story or a poem. I love poems, by the way, because poems can be any length. They don't have to rhyme. You don't have to have great segues. So again, you can do any of those things. We used to do it when I led sexy trivia once a month. We would often I would give people 5 words, and they would have to create a 2-paragraph or a 1-paragraph story in 5 minutes and stuff. And damn, some of the stuff they came up with was hot.
Yeah.
So that's another way. Just set a timer, and you and your partner do a little competition. Like, who could write the sexiest thing about a topic? Pick a random word out of the dictionary and have to write a sexy 3 sentences about it or something. So there's all sorts of ways to make this fun and exciting and interesting, and to help bond you, to create more emotional intimacy as you share this with each other, to create more physical and sexual intimacy as you then act them out or respond to the arousal, on and on.
And
Certainly romantic intimacy.
I said earlier, the stuff I write are my actual fantasies. I'm not the shy type. I mean, I tell my wife what the hell I want whenever I want. But if you are the shy type, or you're in a relationship that's still, I'm not going to say new, but so you're not into that comfort of, I can just tell you all my fantasies, that can be a great way to bring them up. Well, you don't have to say, hey, I wrote this story. This is exactly like, hey, I wrote this story. I want you to tie me down to the bed and peg me. That's not the ones I wrote. I just literally came up with that off the top of my head. But
we know it appeals to you someday.
But you don't have to go, hey, this is my fantasy. All you have to do is just go, hey, I was writing the other day and I don't know what popped into my head, but this is where I thought, and then gauge their reaction from that. And that's how you can introduce a new kink or a new type of play or anything like that. That way you don't have to sit down and try to have that like semi-awkward, like, would you ever, like, kind of thing. You can just write what you want and hand it to them. And again, don't tell them this is my ultimate fantasy or this is something I want to try. Just let them read it.
Yeah. And plus because sometimes if we just say, oh, I want to be pegged, we're like, oh, okay, what does that look like? How does that happen? Well, if you wrote a story about it, you would set it up. So then I would be like, oh, now I see, right? And I could like that, or I could change it or alter it or revise, but I would have more context of how the action would fit into real life, and the response. And frankly, also you suggesting what my particular arousal state would be from these acts would also help make it okay. It would normalize my enjoyment and my pleasure, instead of me feeling like, oh shit, I'm not supposed to enjoy this because, I'm a woman. I didn't grow up thinking about fucking a man. What do I do with this? Because, right, those are all reasonable things. And so once we see something or read something, it becomes more accessible. Our brain actually doesn't differentiate very well between imaginary and reality. It just hears what it hears and chalks it up to, okay, normalized. Here's what this looks like. makes it easier. So
Yep.
that's a very good point there. Okay. And then, of course, feel free to share with us anything that you want. If you've got a sentence that you just think is just too exciting and stuff, then shoot us an email. It's what? Confessions? Tell them.
comewithusconfessions@gmail.com. It's comewithusconfessions@gmail.com.
And it's
yeah.
COME.
Yes.
COME.
Just like the title of the show.
That's right. So
Add the word confessions to it @gmail.com. You're good to go.
yeah. Come with us, confessions. Okay. I don't know why my brain doesn't. It's too many words. So anyway. Okay. So send them to us. Also, feel free. Follow us on social media, please. We're at Come With Us Podcast on Facebook and Instagram, and I don't even know where else. I'm Beth Darling on those things too. And go to BethDarling.com to make sure that you get my book, The 5 Kinds of Intimacy, How to Keep Your Love Alive. So I'm telling you, that in combination with some sexy stories, oh my goodness, we're going to keep you hot and satisfied for a long damn time. Knock on wood. That's what we all want, right? So, all right. Thank you. So glad that you've joined us for Come With Us Podcast, where you get the bare naked truth about love, sex, and relationships. So Aaron and I are so glad to be on this sexy journey with you. We can't wait for you to get all the pleasure that you deserve, just like we want all the pleasure we deserve, right? All right. Big hugs and love. We'll see you soon. Bye, Aaron. Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to the Come With Us podcast. Be sure to follow us on social media at Come With Us Podcast and send in your questions, comments, and confessions to comewithusconfessions@gmail.com. Until next time, keep it fun, flirty, and naughty.